Okay. This presentation is going to discuss the rise of the Macedonians. The Macedonians are going to be coming from this area of northern Greece. Now, were the Macedonians Greek or not? The answer is sometimes. Sometimes they were considered by other Greek city-states to be part of Greece. Other times they were considered not to be part of Greece. They're sort of on the fringe of Greek society. As a result, they escape a lot of the bad things that happen to many of the various city-states as a result of the Peloponnesian Wars, which we talked about back in Chapter 2. So the overriding question, and what you need to understand for this presentation, so keep in mind as you take your notes when you go through this, as long as the specific factual details that I'm going to add, because you're going to need it for an essay. How and why were the Macedonian invasions so successful? Particularly with this one, the invasions of Philip II of Macedon. So let's recap a little bit, the aftermath of the Peloponnesian conflict. Sparta is going to conquer Athens, and they're going to install the 30 tyrants. Now, the first thing that should jump out at you is the dates here for the 30 tyrants. This is not long-lasting. Athens removes this oligarchy placed there by Sparta rather quickly. Okay? As a result, we get a general amnesty. Now, if you don't know what amnesty is, we're basically referring to an agreement to just stop fighting, basically, is what they're talking about here. They really don't have much of a choice at this point, this rivalry between Athens and Sparta. It's just too bloody. It's too much. Sparta, even after this, is going to have a last gasp attempt to control all of Greece. Even if they can't control Athens, to still have that power and influence over the entire region. Ultimately, they make an alliance with Persia. Sparta is supposed to have free hand in Greece, while Persia has ultimate authority over the Ionian cities in Anatolia. Think back, First Persian War, the Ionian Revolt, that area east on the other side of the Aegean from mainland Greece. This is a problem, though. Sparta does not have the ability to keep this going. Remember, they're a land-based military. They just don't have the ability to continue this, and it doesn't work. As a result, we see the rise of another city-state come to dominance in the region, and that is Thebes. Thebes is going to defeat Sparta at Leuctra in 371 BC. Big reason why Thebes is successful here is the fact that Sparta and Athens had basically been killing each other for the past 50 years, and they're able to defeat them. Thebes actually invades Sparta, frees the Helots, the large slave population, at least temporarily. Sparta later rebuilds much of this Helot population. It's interesting when you take a look at this slide, because Thebes, throughout much of its history, had been a rival city-state, but also had a lot of cooperation with Sparta as well. What you're really seeing here during and after the Peloponnesian conflict is a lot of changing alliances. There's really no continuity within Greece at this time. If you look down further here, Thebes emerges as a leading military power, but while Thebes is doing that, Athens is able to rebuild its own military and its naval power. Thebes is bidding with Sparta, this leaves Athens alone, and now they're back on top. It ends up being Sparta and Athens challenging Thebes, and they defeat Thebes at the Battle of Mantinea in 362 BC. So from the time period of the 30 tyrants, 404 BC, a period of only 33 years, Athens and Sparta go from hating each other, Sparta dominating Athens with the 30 tyrants, to Athens overthrowing the 30 tyrants, to now Sparta and Athens are best buddies, challenging Thebes. Once again, there's no continuity. Greece is just, it's shooting itself in the foot. Not as individual city-states per se, but as an entire area, which as a result gives the rise of Macedon, Philip II. He has vying interests with Athens. He seizes Amphipolis. Amphipolis has huge amounts of gold mines. It makes him rich. It makes him independent. And what we mean by this independence, be able to make a note of this, very important, is that he's now able to properly fund future military campaigns. He has the money and the resources to go ahead and pay for both his soldiers and siege technology. Technology that can breach outer walls of cities and actually bring those walls down. He has the ability to do that now. With the seizing of Amphipolis, we see the full-on invasion of Greece. Very important battle, the Battle of Chaeronea. What the Battle of Chaeronea will do, if you look at a map and you'll see it, it's west of Thebes, and Thebes is just west of Athens. So he's right in the middle of it. He comes down from the north, and he's able to have a really strong foothold in Greece. But what it does, and that success at the Battle of Chaeronea, is it sends a message to many of the other Greek city-states. Get in line and follow Philip II, or you're next. And many of them get in line and follow Philip II. What Philip II forms is the League of Corinth, 338 BC, which ultimately unites much of Greece. What the League does is it forbids war without permission. If there is an uprising, Philip very harshly puts it down, kills many of the men, and women and children are sent to slavery. Now, it's not a bad deal to be part of the League of Corinth. There's no tribute. Your taxes don't go to Philip. He's not after the taxes. But what he wants is that military support. Now, if this sounds similar, a similar deal to something that Greece was offered before in its past, it should. The Persians were offering something very similar when they wanted to annex Greece as part of its empire. Big difference is, however, is Philip has an ace in the hole. He brings up with the League of Corinth that old idea of that outside enemy. Okay? Macedonians, they're not really full-on outsiders. Yeah, they're on the fringe of Greece, but they're not Persia. And that's who he says he's going to attack. That's what he's planning. That's what the purpose of the League of Corinth is. At least that's what he's telling them. Is to go ahead and attack the Persian Empire. And at this time, it seems like a viable option. If you can have a united League of Corinth, they might be successful. Persia, despite holding still a massive land-based empire, is not as strong as it has been in the past, say during the Persian Wars. So if you look at this map, this is the world of Philip II. He's ready for this invasion. He controls this area right going into Anatolia, the Persian Empire, the Hellespont. If you remember, that was the area where Xerxes built his pontoon bridge to cross over for his land army. So he's right there. It's there for the taking, and he's just on the verge of this full-on invasion of Persia. Now, what happens, however... Oh, well, before that, Philip II of Macedon, military innovations, combined arms. He allows these various city-states to incorporate their fighting styles into his army. It's not just the uniform, everybody fights a certain way. There's some strengths in that. There's some weaknesses, but there's some strengths in that. These Greek city-states, they don't have to change their fighting style. They're more likely to follow in line and join this army. And with the promise of attacking Persia, there's the promise of land. There's the promise of gaining riches. Okay? Which, if you look at Greece after the Peloponnesian War, Greece didn't have a whole lot of land, or at least any that wasn't in ruin. And many Greeks needed money. So this was an attractive offer to go ahead and join in this League of Corinth in this proposed invasion of Persia. However, before the invasion of Persia can happen, Philip is assassinated. Now, it's important to note that it was by his own officer, but it wasn't necessarily a political assassination. It was more of a personal quarrel that this person had with Philip. But as a result, Alexander III, Alexander the Great, becomes king. He ascends to the throne, ultimately going to form the world's largest empire. He's going to do it through employing one of Philip's innovations, the Macedonian phalanx. Okay, it's to overrun and dominate the traditional idea of the Greek phalanx. Use of the sarissa, technical term, please know it. It's a long spear to present an impenetrable front. I mean, we're talking 10, 12, 15 feet long these sarissas could be. Also, he adds cavalry to protect the flanks. The Macedonian phalanx was great in small areas, small quarters, to go ahead, attack, have few casualties, and then quickly disperse. The use of cavalry will protect those flanks if they ever have to fight in an open field area for a long period of time. Okay? Well, so there's a lot going on here. Why were the Macedonians so successful? Well, first off, think of the conditions of Greece. Be able to discuss those in class next time. Okay? What is going on with Greece? Think about Thebes, Athens, Sparta, fighting, all those ins and outs. Okay? There's also the fact that Philip II is good military leader, Macedonian phalanx. Also keeping his economic advantages by seizing Amphipolis, the gold mines, and also keep in mind, as I mentioned in this presentation, what happens to those who rebel in the League of Corinth, as well as how are those treated that are loyal to the League of Corinth. So there's a lot going on there, political, social, economic, military, all sorts of stuff to talk about. Now, what we're going to talk about in the next presentation, the next podcast, is the reign of Alexander. He's going to form the world's largest empire up to this point, even larger than the Persians. Question to think about before you even start it. Do you believe the ascension to the throne of Alexander will be a smooth transition? Remember, personal assassination by Philip II. There's a big power void. A lot can happen. So stay tuned, see what happens. Thanks for listening.